Hey YouTube, it's Tech Savvy Solution, and I'm here with the Moto 360, which is Motorola's first entry into the smartwatch market. So it's really exciting to finally get my hands on this device, as it has been backordered, or not backordered, but sold out for quite some time, and when the next shipment came, I just jumped on it and ordered it on the website. But it's finally nice to have it back in my hands, and I want to discuss mainly three things about this device. First, the design and form factor of it, which is fairly unique comparing, to all of the other rectangular smartwatches currently on the market. Secondly, Android Wear, which is the new OS for the smartwatches by Android. And thirdly, kind of give you an overview and some insight on whether or not you might want to consider buying a smartwatch, if you should buy one now, buy the Moto 360, or if you should wait in 2015 when the Apple iWatch comes out, or if you should just, nix the whole smartwatch concept entirely. So we'll be exploring these three things in the video, and I hope you enjoy. Alright, so if we take a look at the design of the Moto 360, you'll notice that it's a fairly minimalistic design. So it's not going to try and be all super high-tech in terms of the outside design of it. The brain is on the inside, obviously, but it's trying to go for something simple, especially when you have a device that's this size on the wrist. You want to make sure that it's not trying to be overly gaudy or anything, which can be very easy to achieve on a smartwatch, making it too fancy for its own good. So in terms of the colors with the Moto 360, it comes with all black, which is what I have here, or a lighter gray color. And then as for the watch band, on this device we have a leather band, which is all black here, and it's fairly thick considering that it has to hold this large of a display. But if you're really not digging the leather band, there's also supposed to be a metal band that's going to come out later for an additional price. I mean, this thing is kind of pricey already, but you'll have to pay extra if you want to have it replaced with a new band. But that way you can get a more uniform look with metal on metal versus leather on metal in this case. So in terms of the size, I have fairly small wrists, so this will probably be different on you. But I'm just going to go ahead and try it on for you, just to give you an idea of how this looks. So here's my wrist, and here's the watch, and as you can see, it's almost the width of my entire wrist. It's pretty large, and I'm going to go ahead and show you in comparison this to another average size watch that I have. Alright, so here I have the Moto 360 on this part of my wrist, and then this is a watch made by Swatch, and this is an average watch face. It's actually a medium face, or medium-sized face. It's not the largest that they have. And you can see that the Moto 360 is quite large. It takes up more than just even this entire part of the watch, of the Swatch watch. And it's also a good amount thicker than the Swatch watch as well. If we count, I guess if you count just the transparent part here, it's perhaps just as thick. But in terms of the overall body, it's just kind of this hunk of metal here. So, I mean, in terms of everyday usage or everyday wear, I can pretty much get away with wearing something like this just because I'm a student in a hipster college, so it's pretty acceptable for the most part. And actually, I wore this in a concert, two concerts actually, where I had a suit jacket over it, so it blended in with the color. It was all black concert wear, and then I was able to change the watch face so it'd show more minimalistic design. I mean, this is already minimal, but just the digital design, which is mostly all black except for the numbers. So it actually worked quite well with the outfits that I was wearing, which is kind of a surprise considering the size of the watch. But if I were to recommend a color, I would probably recommend the black, since it's very easy to have it blend in with your outfits, especially if you're a performing musician and you want to still be able to keep the time without sacrificing the fashion. So in terms of the software on this watch, it's running Android Wear, which is Google's operating system for their Android Wear watches. And it's basically like having Google Now on your wrist. So if you're familiar with Google Now on your phone, you have a lot of options, in terms of viewing notifications, issuing commands. So for me, I have my calendar events where it'll show me everything that I have for today. So I need to sign up for my requirement classes, or events rather, and also I have a performance that I had to do today. And then in addition to that, it'll also show you notifications from other applications. So with this Android smartwatch, it comes with a set of fitness apps to kind of track your fitness goals each day, your heart rate, because it actually can read your heart rate. How awesome is that? And also your steps, because it's also a pedometer. And if we go ahead and open this up, it'll kind of give you kind of a view of how much physical activity you've been doing throughout the day as well as throughout the week, and how many more minutes or hours or days you need of this kind of physical activity. So as you can see, I had physical activity for these days. I just got the smartwatch on Tuesday, so you can see that I have one more day of physical activity left. And in addition to that, in addition to these novelty apps, you can get notifications from Facebook, your text messages. If you had any missed calls, they'll show up as well. And incidentally, if you don't mute your notifications, which you can do by pulling down, your notifications will show up on the main watch face as well. So let's view this again. This is when it's muted. It's just kind of a plain face. And then when you go ahead and unmute it, then it'll show up right on the home screen. So if you have it unmuted, not only do you get that, but if someone is calling you, then your watch will also vibrate and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I should go answer my phone. Alright, so if we're getting onto the topic of whether or not a smartwatch would be right for you, I think it's worth mentioning some of the things that I actually use the smartwatch for, the most common things that I used it for throughout my week with this phone, or with this smartwatch. So one of the first things that I actually started to appreciate about this watch is that you're able to check your notifications without looking like that jerk that pulls out their phone during class or during a meeting, and you just kind of you can just flick your wrist and be like, oh yeah, so I can just look at this really quickly and then be like, oh yeah, so I wasn't doing anything. You literally can just put your palm over the watch and it'll go ahead and vibrate a little bit and just be like, okay, I'll shut up now, so you can get on with the rest of your life. Another thing is it's Google Now voice commands. So I did this for both lazy and productive things. So one of the lazy things that I did with it was just set a timer using my voice. Set a timer for 20 minutes versus doing something like this manually on my phone. I was able to just set it with this. And I don't know why it's not letting me cancel. There we go. So there's that feature about the voice commands. Another feature with the voice commands is to check the weather. So go ahead and do that. What is the weather for Chicago? What is the weather for Chicago? And I'll go ahead and give you a forecast both throughout the day as well as the week. If I can bring that up again. What is the weather? What is the weather for Chicago? So we swipe to the left. There we go. And we get a small forecast for the next 4 days. And as you can see with the voice commands, it's actually pretty responsive in terms of translating your voice into the command, and it's fairly quick as well. Another thing that I really just like to do is go and see what's on my calendar for the day. And as you can see with the round display, it does cut some text off, as it wouldn't do on a rectangular display, but the display itself is wide enough so that you can get all the information that you need to see before scrolling up and seeing the new information. So for me, I really didn't mind that it cut off a lot of the display. I would still go for the form factor over usability or readability with it, because the readability sacrifice is really not that much with this device. So this for me is what I use the smartwatch for throughout the week in terms of what I found to be most useful. And if you look at it in retrospect, it kind of sounds dumb when I go over these things, because these are all things that you can do with your phone. And aside from looking cool, or that you have something as futuristic as this, it's not really that much of a groundbreaking thing. I mean, it's groundbreaking that, okay, it's in such a small package, but a lot needs to be improved before I could be really sold on keeping this smartwatch. Alright, so I'm just going to go over some of the things that you might want to consider before buying a smartwatch. For me, the biggest thing is battery life for this. So if you're going to have something that keeps time, you're going to want it to keep time for the entire day that you're awake. So for me, that's going to be around 8 a.m. to midnight or so, midnight or 1 a.m. And when I was using the Moto 360, I was getting pretty decent battery life in terms of it lasting the entire day. I would be down at around 20% by the time I go to bed, which is actually not so bad. However, from other people and other reviewers that I've been hearing from, they're getting around 9% at the end of their day, and their day is considered 12 hours. And that's really not good at all. And especially for if you're going to be a heavy user and you have a lot of notifications, a lot of people contacting you and having those things show up on your phone, you're going to want this watch, you're going to want this watch to be reliable and stay alive for the duration of your day. So ideally, in maybe a couple of years from now, we're able to get a smartwatch that can last a month. A smartwatch with this kind of functionality that would last a month without having to charge it. That would be awesome. So there's battery life. The other thing is the Bluetooth range of the watch to the phone. Because this watch is completely dependent on the phone for notifications and functionality, it's pretty sad that it has to depend on the phone within that limited range of Bluetooth. So even if you're within the same house, or if in the same vicinity or the same building of your phone, that you need to have your phone pretty much in your backpack or in your back pocket in order for this to work. So if we could either extend that Bluetooth range and having this, maybe you could do something like, okay, I can leave my phone in like my office or my desk or something and just have my smartwatch throughout the workspace, then that'd be great. So it's an extended Bluetooth range. Another option would perhaps be having this connect to an internet source. Again, we'd have to watch the battery, but if it could do over-the-air notifications, so that you don't even need to pair it with a phone. You can just pair it with your Facebook account or your Gmail account and Twitter account and have all these notifications sent here without needing another device. That'd be awesome as well. Having it depend on a phone kind of ties back to another point that I want to make about compatibility. So right now we have this Android watch running on Android, obviously, and that you need an Android phone in order for it to work. And okay, I know Android's a really popular operating system and it's great, it's one of my favorites, but you know, there's tons of iPhone users, there's also some BlackBerry users still out there, and even people that don't have smartphones. Like, whoa, maybe like 4 years from now that was like okay, but now it's like, what, people on smartphones? But there are people that don't have smartphones, and you know, you're cutting out such a large part of the demographic with this by limiting it to Android users. So going back to the over-the-air notifications, maybe that would be a better thing to have, and have this be able to connect to maybe a Wi-Fi or a cellular service for the Google Voice commands, but so that you can just relinquish the independence or relinquish the dependence of the phone and make it an independent device. That would be awesome. Another thing to improve would be the design and the size of this device. I mean, right now, Motorola, I feel like, is headed in the right direction in terms of giving it this very minimalistic form factor and something that is round. It's going back to the basics and, you know, the traditional watch face, and it's really quite beautiful. But right now for me it's just a little big, a little on the thick side. If we could slim it down even still. I know we have the Samsung Gear S coming in, and it's a beautiful smartwatch. You should check it out with a curved display, but a lot of the complaints that we're having is that it's too thick, and especially if you're going to appeal to the female demographic of, you know, the stereotypical female demographic, I guess, of wearing dresses with your watches, and you have to wear something as large as this, it's really not that appealing. So if we can have a watch for every occasion type of thing, with a smaller form factor, but still preserving the functionality, that would be for the best. And finally, what I have to say about this whole smartwatch ordeal, not ordeal, but this smartwatch fad is the price, because right now it's kind of a luxury item at this point and more of a novelty than anything, in that it's this thing, this little small gadget here is $250, which is more than enough to buy a nice shiny smartphone on contract, and it would be like, what, half the price of a smartphone that you can get off contract. But still, for something that's this small and, you know, this limited in functionality, I think $250 is a bit steep. And even now, if you look in Amazon and eBay and look at the prices for this, which is in hot demand and always selling out on the Motorola website, you'll see the prices going up to $300 or $350, which to me is kind of absurd for this. So if we can bring the price down to something more reasonable, like even $100, I feel like it's asking a lot. Maybe $50 would be awesome when the technology is there and the resources are there to make it that price. Then I think people would be sold on getting smartwatches. So with that being said, I just really look forward to the future of smartwatches and what it can offer. I think they have tons of potential in terms of providing notifications on the fly and a really small package. But of course, this market still has a little ways to go before I'm fully convinced that you should buy a smartwatch for yourself. Alright, so this has been my take on smartwatches, particularly the Moto 360. And I hope that my insight helped you guys to decide whether or not you want to go ahead and buy a smartwatch, or if you do already own a smartwatch, I'd love to hear what you have to say about how you enjoy the experience. And if you don't have a smartwatch, are you planning on getting one? So please take it out in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, please rate, comment, and subscribe, as I do appreciate your feedback. And I hope to see you guys next time on the next video review or tutorial. Thanks so much.